So I found out this really interesting fact about Gilles de la Tourette, and it inspired me to kind of look into his story a little more. I wanted to share it with you because I was looking on Wikipedia and I was looking on a few sites about the history of Georges Albert Brutus Gilles de la Tourette. Apparently, Gilles de la Tourette is his last name. His last name isn't just Tourette, it's Gilles de la Tourette. So his first name is Georges Albert Brutus. Um, and he was born in 1957 in France. Obviously, he was a French dude, France. And he was technically the his mentor was the father of neurology, or considered the father of neurology, Jean-Martin Charcot. And he was kind of like, the neurology wasn't really a field at the time. So Jean-Martin Charcot, he asked his who was the mentor of Gilles de la Tourette, he asked him to look into the condition that was, they didn't know what it was exactly. It was tics, basically. So it was Tourette syndrome, but it wasn't called that at the time. So he asked him to look into it because he was always, Gilles de la Tourette was already looking into things like hysteria, chorea, things like that. Hypnotism, which was called mesmerism at the time. So he was looking into that, and he published an article he wrote the article in 1884 about the cases of 9 individuals that had tics. And I think one of the women who were those 9 individuals was a woman who was documented in the early 1800s. So she was a young woman in the early 1800s, and then by the time Gilles de la Tourette was studying her case, she was an elderly woman, so she was documented twice and was one of the first people to be chronicled or whatever. She was documented as one of the first people who were documented to have Tourette syndrome. She was a noblewoman, so she was the 9 people that he documented, and he called it maladie des tics. And maladie means sickness, and tics, you know what that means. Maladie des tics, illness of tics. So, and it was his mentor, Jean-Martin Charcot, who later named the condition after Tourette, Gilles de la Tourette. So he didn't name himself his own condition. It was his mentor that did. He was humble, and he called it something. He called it maladie des tics, what I was saying earlier. And originally, this is kind of a dumb thing. I'm not so inspired, but boy, fudge in the ass. What? Fuck. So, we're moving back. Fuck. I haven't been swearing as much lately. I've been making more noises than anything else. I don't know why I'm swearing right now. Okay, I was saying, the fact that I didn't like about Gilles de la Tourette was that I was thinking about, which was a common mentality at the time, but he was thinking that Tourette syndrome was like, I think they were thinking it was mental health at the time, which I'm pretty sure, and they were thinking that it was like a hereditary condition that you got because your ancestors were, what's the technical word for it, other than sinning? They were doing things contrary to biblical belief. They were sinning, so their kids inherited this brain-based disorder that was inherited from their ancestors' sins. So I thought that was really dumb, but of course, it's the mentality at the time. They didn't know. They just thought that mental health conditions were as a result of sins. So that was the thing at the time, but anyways, that's kind of beside the point. I think one of the interesting facts that I thought was, what was it? Okay, so we're getting there. I don't know why I find it so interesting. I shouldn't, but there's a thing. So in 1893, Jean-Martin Charcot, his mentor, passes away, and shortly after that, Gilles de la Tourette's, or technically Georges Gilles de la Tourette's son, passes away, and not long after that, the guy gets shot in the head, and he lives. He lived in a time where medicine just wasn't what it is today, and he lived from being shot in the head. And it was a former patient of hers, Rose something, I remember her last name, and fuck, 7, hi. Okay, so she felt that he had hypnotized her against her will, and that she went insane as a result of the hypnotism that was against her will. And he was saying, you know what, it's not possible. You don't hypnotize someone that doesn't want to be hypnotized. It can't happen. And there's even hypnotists today that are saying the same thing. You can't hypnotize someone unless they're willing to be hypnotized. You have to be open to it for it to happen. So he was saying that's not true. He survived. He went a little bit, his mental health took a turn. He was feeling a lot of depression, obviously. I mean, people were dying. His kid died. His mentor died. He got shot in the head. He's dealing with a lot. He's depressed. He's dealing with with mania. I'm trying to remember the entire word, mania. And he was still working. He was still doing lectures, writing papers. He was still doing these things, even though he was dealing with a lot of stress and a lot of mental health issues. He deteriorated in terms of his condition, his mental health, in 1902, where he was dismissed from his work. The hospital that he was working at, he couldn't work there anymore, and he ended up. I don't know what he died of specifically, other than being a really broken soul. I mean, I don't know what he died of specifically, but he died in a psychiatric institution in Switzerland in 1904, which was 2 years after he was dismissed. They didn't say exactly. I don't know if they say what he died of specifically. I didn't find the information, but he died in a mental institution in Switzerland. I don't remember the name of the city. It was. It sounded French, but I'm not sure. Whatever. Yeah, the fact that I had seen that I thought was so interesting was that he was shot in the head and he survived. I thought, oh, that's how he died. And then I read later he survived. What? What was he doing? He's surviving. He gets shot in the head in the 1800s, and he's like just alive 12 years later. It's incredible. So I thought that was interesting, and I didn't know all this information about Georges Albert Brutus. I think there's an Edouard somewhere in there. Gilles de Tourette. I didn't know all this information, and I was really, that was so interesting. I'll share it with you guys. I've been rambling forever. I'm gonna stop talking. I know it. Fudge in the ass. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna end this before it gets worse. Hopefully, I inherited sins from my parents. I'm fucking swearing. Bye, guys.